God has got to be ahead of us. We've got to put Him first. We've got to put Him first. That pillar of cloud, it shows them where they were going. In the night, it allowed them to move overnight. But here's the interesting thing. When they left, the Lord hardens Pharaoh's heart. He sends his army after them. But because the Lord was with them, what does He do? What did He do? He put the cloud. If you remember, there was a cloud between them and the army. There was until they get in, they cross and they go. There was that cloud. During this move, if we put God in front, if we put God ahead of us, not only will He direct us, He will protect us. Yes, to God be the glory. To God be the glory. This afternoon, I welcome you in this place as I try to share with you. And I trust and believe that the Lord will touch you, that the Lord will do what He needs to do with you today. Interestingly, when I was thinking about I've seen when others have come here, they have titled what they're going to share. So I was trying to think, okay, what do I say? What do I call this? And in the end, I settled with your blessing is in the move. Your blessing is in the move. And I say interestingly because we've just celebrated two young women here. They could have stayed where they were. They could have decided not to move, not to come forward, but they did. And in doing so, in that move, they got their blessing. In that move, they got their blessing. And you see, where we are now, we are talking about moving. Today is a significant Sunday. It is a significant Sunday in the life of Founding Church. The Lord has done so many things in this place. The Lord has blessed me, has blessed you. The Lord has allowed us to meet, and the Lord has allowed us to be in this place right now. But also in the scriptures, when you think about what I've said, that your blessing is in the move. There are a number of people in the scriptures who moved and they found their blessing. In your home as well, I believe that there are certain things that you look back to and you say, if I hadn't done that, this wouldn't have happened. So we can be as basic as that. There are those that work out, and there are those that work out, and even those that don't work out. They know that if you move, if you take a walk, if you lift weights, if you do something, that will help you. That will help you. That will build your muscle. But if you don't, that muscle, it will not grow. Instead, there are so many, and for those that are not even interested in the gym, if you watch TV, if you go on social media, if you go on any other media, you will find that it's there that you are still being told that you need to move. In our life, in our spiritual life, we need to move. In our spiritual life, we need to move, because when we move, that is where our blessing is. That is where we find our blessing. The Lord has blessed Founding Church with this place for years. And there are people that have been healed in this place. there are people that have found God in this place. There are people that found God in this place, went away and came back in this place and were reconciled with God. There are people that, have had challenges in their home, with their children, with their husbands and wife, and they have found each other in this place. And there are people who have looked at Fountain Church from outside, other churches, other people who don't necessarily come in here, but they have looked and they have found a blessing. They found a blessing in doing so. Why? Because they looked. So the move is not necessarily restricted to you walking. It's not necessarily restricted to you lifting something. It is not restricted to that. In your thinking, in looking, in seeing, that is a move. It's a process. And in doing so, you find your blessing. And I've got here, you see, when you go to Genesis 22, when you go to Genesis 22 and you find there, you find the Genesis 22 where you talk about Abraham. You talk about Abraham, and in there you find that when you think of Abraham, and for those that know the story, who I believe a lot do, you find that it took a long time for him and Sarah to have a child. Then they have one. The Lord blesses them with one. And the Lord asks for that same child. And Abraham takes his son, the one that he loved dearly, the one that he waited for so long. He took that son and was ready to sacrifice him. But the Lord intervenes. And the Lord says, I have seen that you fear me. It is because of that move that he did. I have seen that you fear me. But when you read further, you'll find that now the Lord pronounced blessings on Abraham. I am going to bless you because of what he did. And you go to, you find Ruth. You find Ruth. And if you go to Ruth, that's chapter 2. That's chapter 2, and you'll find that now Ruth has gone with Naomi, and then she says here, if you go to Ruth 2, from verse 2, it says, and Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor. Now this is a woman who has lost a husband, has gone with a mother-in-law, and you would say in that moment everything is hopeless, isn't it? Everything is hopeless, because the statement that let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain, this is not somebody who is living in abundance. This is not somebody who's got fields that are filled with corn and they use anyhow, they harvest anyhow. She's looking for leftovers. But in that move, watch what then happens. It turns out this is the cornfield of this man, this Boaz. Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. The Lord be with you. The Lord bless you, they answered. Boaz asked the overseer of his harvesters, who does this young woman belong to? The overseer replied, she is the Moabite who came back from Moab with Naomi. And then from there, the story of Ruth, I would say, starts. The blessing starts from there because she's noticed. But because she's been inspired to say, let me go into the cornfield and pick the leftover corn. And in that she's seen. In that she finds a blessing. I don't know what move it is that you have to make. I don't know what move it is that you are contemplating. But if you don't make that move, and I'm talking about generally in your life, in the secular, whatever move you are thinking about, if you don't move, it's going to stay that way. If you don't move, that blessing is not coming. You know, the other time, you know, there was a sharing here about us Christians just claiming, I claim this, I claim that. You can claim that sitting in your lounge, you can claim that sitting in your garden or wherever you're sitting. But if you don't do something, if you don't move to do something about that which you've claimed, it just remains a claim. It just remains a claim and it's not happening, and you're blessing. God is sovereign. God loves us. He does what He wants to do. But we have to move. We have to move. We need to. And you see, where you are going is the promise. Where you are going is the promise. Where you are going, that's where you find that blessing. But for you to get to the promise, you have to move. If you don't move, you can't enjoy that promise. You can't take advantage of that promise. If you don't move, you've missed out on that blessing. And you see, I was thinking about that, and just looking at what was happening in this place. There was an altar call, and yes, we've seen the young women that have given their life to Christ. But beyond that, if you looked at how that started with people giving their life to Christ. But that moved on to healing. And you could have been very familiar. Maybe you've been in Fountain Church for a long time. And you have heard Pastor Rose call for an altar call for a long time. And you got familiar. Maybe you haven't even been with Pastor Rose, and maybe you are here for the first time, and you've been in other places where you've got familiar to altar calls. Now, it is your opinion, it is your view. It is also your decision to move. You don't decide to move, you miss out. It is simple as that. And I take you to Joshua. You see, the Israelites, they were in Egypt. And in that, they had the promise. They had the promise, this promised land, to go to Canaan. There was a decision that they go. And eventually they did. But what I wanted to talk to you about is, yes, we talk about the move, but also what is important is what you do in that move. It is important what you do in that move. I go back again. I don't know. Brother Isaiah, he likes to work out. He works out, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people here. But I'm sure they would look at somebody. They would look at somebody holding a pair of dumbbells in a certain way, and they would say, "You're doing it wrong. Do it this way." Why? Because there is a way you should move your hands. There is a way you should move your arms. There is a way you should squat. There is a way you should move. There is a way you should move. So the Israelites, they moved. And some of them in the end got to Canaan, but some didn't. I want to believe that within those, there are some out of the decisions they made, because the journey from Egypt to where they ended up, it covers so many books, so many chapters, so many stories you find there. There are so many things that happened. But I want to believe there are some people who missed out because of the decisions they made during the move. So many times, when this story comes up, we focus on Moses, that he missed out because of the decisions that he made. But think of the people that are not written about. There are many of them. There are many people that missed out this land that was full of milk and honey. And they missed out because of the decisions that they made. So it is the same way that in the move that you are going to make spiritually, it is how you move in that spiritual move. It is how you move in that spiritual move. Because you can move and waste your time. You can move and waste your time. And I know I said I want to take you to the book of Joshua. And this is, now in Joshua, you see, you go to chapter 3. I just want to talk specifically about Founding Church and where we are. Today is the last Sunday in this place that we are going to meet in this place. A place has been identified where we are going. It's uncanny, isn't it? You think of the Israelites, they already had a place where they were going, which had been promised. And they're moving. Founding Church, we are moving. But what is important is what we do as we move. What we do as we move is important. It says here, it says here in chapter 3 of Joshua, early in the morning, Joshua and the Israelites set out from Shittim and went to the Jordan, where they camped before crossing over. I was looking at this and thinking, we are moving, but we are not moving straight away. We are not moving straight away. We are not moving into the place that we are going to. We are not moving straight away. There is a gap because there are things that still need to be done in the place that we are going to. So they moved and camped at the banks of the Jordan River. We have, by the grace of God, 2 weeks. And in that time, we are camping. In that time, we are camping. Because whatever happens, we can't stay here. Whatever happens, we can't stay here. We are moving. We have to move. But then, I take you back to, in this place, in other versions, it's called Acacia Grove. at Shittim where they were. And while they have been there, they have conquered the Ammonites. They've conquered the Ammonites. This king, Og, and Sihon, they've conquered them. Moses has recited, the law. In Fountain Church, we've conquered so many Ammonites, haven't we? We have. We have conquered so many Ammonites in Fountain Church. I believe a lot of people have. And in that time, it is possible then that we also got comfortable. It is possible that we got comfortable because you come in on a Sunday. There's a countdown. If you are here early, there's a countdown, and you know what's going to happen. So it is possible that we've got comfortable. It is possible that probably even complacent. The same in the acacia grove in your life. There is the acacia grove where the Israelites were. But I believe there is an acacia grove for you in your life where you've got comfortable, where you've got complacent, where you've got used to things. Some good, some bad. But it's a time to move. In Fountain Church, we had Minister Deborah talked about getting married, meeting her husband. So many other people have been married in this place. Other people have been engaged, being in this place, baptized. All those things have happened. Other people have had children in this place. And I believe during the time that the Israelites were camped at Shittim before they left, a lot happened. People got married. People got married. Children grew up. Those that were toddlers became teenagers. So many things happened. Lives were changed while they were there. Same as here. Same as here. But then time came for them to move. Time came for them to move. And they had to. You see, where you've become comfortable, it is time for you to move. It is time for you to shift your thinking. It is time for you to look at other things and think differently. Because whatever that situation is, whatever Acacia Grove is for you, unless you move, it's not going to change. If anything, if it is something that you don't like, if anything, it's going to get worse, and you have to move. Now, talking about what you do during the move, I was looking at this and, reflecting on where we've been, just as some of the Israelites would have done in terms of what would have happened. We've had the Bible reading, 52 weeks. Isn't that uncanny that in the last Sunday, we have the beginning of the last week of our Bible reading? That is something. And what I'm getting at is, during that move, there are things that we have to do. There are things that we are called to do. Because we've learned to pray. We've been taught to pray. We've been encouraged to pray. We've been encouraged to fellowship. We've been encouraged to evangelize. Striva has been born while we're here. We've been encouraged to fellowship. We have, the different ministries, outreach, restore. They've come out of fellowship, out of engaging those that are outside of us. The word, as I've said with the Bible reading, we've been taught to be thankful. We've been taught to be thankful. And I remember, and I repeat this because I said it the other night, I remember, Pastor Rose saying, your blessing is in your thanksgiving. We encourage that. Being thankful. We've been taught that. And ultimately, we've been taught to seek divine protection. We've been taught to seek divine protection. All these things are things that are valuable during the move. There are things that are valuable during the move. We know about the danger zone. We know about that. We know about, so many things. We know about, the importance of us interceding. And you see, the Israelites, they were supposed to just move and be where they were supposed to do, but it took them a very long time. We are talking about weeks. But if we become complacent during the move, if we become distracted during the move, a lot of things will happen. A lot of things will happen. You see, I don't know for those that have watched, the wildlife documentaries. You will see that, there's a group of zebras, they are grazing. There's a group of bucks, they are grazing. And a lion comes. It is in the moment that they move. And they're running this way, that way, and the other. There's confusion, there's chaos in that move. And there's one that is isolated. There's one that is isolated. Now, if we say we are moving, it is a break from my brothers from Founding Church, from my sisters from Founding Church. We become isolated. And it makes us, or it makes those that we are ignoring vulnerable. And we are supposed to be our brother's keeper, right? We are supposed to be. So if we ignore, while you might have that time, you are missing out on that blessing, remember. But also, don't be the conduit for somebody missing out on their blessing because you haven't fellowshipped with them, because you haven't sought them out. Don't be that. It is a message probably for some that not necessarily specifically to Founding Church might not resonate. But if you try to relate, it will. For Founding Church, yes, because it's specific to Founding Church. But for those that are not from, again, if you try to relate, it does relate. It does. You can relate with that. Now, where we in these weeks that we're not going to be here, it's a time of transition. I think you've heard that. It is the same way that the Israelites were. I would call it a years of transition, because they end up being in the promised land. But so many things have happened. They evolve over the years. But the significance of camping at the banks of the River Jordan, the significance of that is they had the time to reflect. If you go to verse 5 of chapter 3, Joshua told the people, "Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you." Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. We've been in here. The Lord has done great things. And we've testified of the goodness of the Lord. But do you know that the things that we testify about can become our idols? Do you realize that the things that we testify about can become a hindrance? Because we get stuck in what happened. We get stuck in what happened. Unless that's going to help us progress, unless that's going to help us evolve, that becomes an idol. That keeps us back. Actually, it keeps us back more than the years, where we are. It does. So, yes, the Lord has done great things for us. Yes, the Lord has blessed us. But what then? Because we are moving. It is not a time for us to take a break from being impactful. It is not. We are still called to evangelize. We are still called to intercede. We are still called to fellowship with others. We are still in 2022. It is a move that is happening in 2022. In the same year that we are still expected and encouraged and should be making an impact. So it is not a time for taking a break. In your workplace, at home, on the marketplace, wherever it is a time for you to still make impact. But you see, Joshua calls them to consecrate themselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things amongst them. I believe the Lord is going to do great things amongst us as a church in the new place. But we've got to consecrate ourselves. We've got to separate ourselves. We've got to reflect on where we are now and say, what then? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? We need to do that. And we need to intentionally look at that. Because you see, they say that those that fail to prepare, to plan or to prepare, they plan to fail. When we don't consecrate ourselves, most of the time, chaos will ensue. You see, discouragement will ensue. And sometimes disaster will. Because we haven't prepared adequately. And we've learned over the years how we prepare. We've got to take everything to our God. That's what we've got to do. We've got to pray. We've got to read the scriptures because we will find the answers to the things that we need. So during this move, the Israelites, they had the pillar of cloud by day. They had the pillar of fire by night. In doing so, the Lord was guiding them. And this pillar of fire and this pillar of cloud was ahead of them. As we move, where is God? Is He ahead of us or He's behind and we say, God, let's go? God has got to be ahead of us. We've got to put Him first. We've got to put Him first. That pillar of cloud, it shows them where they were going. In the night, it allowed them to move overnight. But here's the interesting thing. When they left, the Lord hardens Pharaoh's heart. He sends his army after them. But because the Lord was with them, what does He do? What did He do? He put the cloud. If you remember, there was a cloud between them and the army. There was until they get in, they cross and they go. There was that cloud. During this move, if we put God in front, if we put God ahead of us, not only will He direct us, He will protect us. He will do that. Because that is the God that we serve. That is the God that we serve. He will direct us, He will guide us, and He will also protect us. Thank you very much for watching. We enjoy you joining us for the service. Please like, subscribe, and we hope you join us again. God bless you.